Hello,
Oh my
guys.
gosh. I'm so tempted to continue the discussion, but we can talk about that later, I guess.
Hey, guys, you just caught us in the middle of a discussion while the podcast is just starting. And we just want to say welcome. Hi, guys, and this is Level Up Geek Nights, and we are talking
Hello.
about K-pop Demon
K-pop.
Hunters tonight.
Yes.
Yahoo!
Hello,
I thought,
hello.
hello. I thought you were gonna say we have stolen the podcast name we were fighting before this.
Because we have gotten feedback that we are way too polite and friendly to each other, we began the podcast with an argument.
Yeah, we wanted to start with an argument, be edgy. Alright, so hi guys, my name is John, I'm the Christian Geek, and this is the Level Up Geek Night crew. And together with me, I want to introduce our friends and family. Friends and family, yes.
Ito family natin.
The friends and
Wow.
family. Kasi here at Level Up, we are fam. In the club, we're all fam.
Hello.
So if you know that meme, in the club, we're all fam.
Erg. No, I am too old for this.
She knows Eri knows the meme.
Yes.
In the club,
She is
we're all
she,
fam.
she is our youngest voice tonight.
Alright,
So-
so to introduce our panel of judges. Panel of judges because we're gonna judge we're gonna judge
we're
K-pop
gonna
Demon
try
Hunter.
to be judgy. Weh.
We want drama. No, just kidding.
Lol, no. Yes and no.
Panel
I
of
don't know.
judges.
Panel of judgers. We're gonna probably be the nicest judgers online. But anyway.
Alright, so
Oh,
to introduce everybody, so again, today we have Eri, our resident cosplay. I was gonna say
Cebuana.
cosplay goddess, yes.
Wow.
pwede naman Cebuana cosplay princess.
I say
pwede.
Cebuana
Yes, I
cosplay
am
princess.
definitely more a princess, I think.
And of
Yeah.
course, our resident otaku, TV otaku who hasn't been with us for a while. Hello, say hello,
I
Maya.
know. Modataimasu.
He has
I'm
been
back.
he's back. He's been so
Yeah.
busy, but she's back. Love
Yes,
it.
I've been
And-
catching up on my anime lists. Yes.
So have you watched Cells at Work live action?
No, I'm catching up on Free Ren. Sobrang tagal na niya, but like ngayon ko pa lang siya napapanood.
So
So
this is
I
what
have
we
some
call,
recommendations. Which, by the way, we
different-
also watched Oshinoko live action with Vince.
Mm.
It's really good. by
Oh,
the way.
that has a live action.
Yes,
It does.
it's a series and the movie that ends with a movie. And of
Somehow
course,
the live actions of the Japanese stuff is less controversial. But
yes.
anyway,
And of
Anyway.
course, we have the CEO, our CEO, COO, child of owner, just boss man, Janji.
well, I mean, I am the child of the owner, C Lord,
Yeah.
Yes.
The owner.
the owner of everything,
Everything.
everything.
And tonight we're
Alright.
talking about K-pop Demon Hunters. Somebody said that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. For once, we are actually coming out before the hype starts to drop off.
Yes.
Um,
Especially if you have been on Facebook Reels, YouTube Shorts, or TikTok, you would have most likely encountered a certain song from a certain fake boy band. Yeah.
wow.
Fake.
Not
Well, that
fake,
is true.
fictional.
Fictional, yes. Fictional boy band.
Fictional. Just
Which,
because
by the
they're
way, this year
fictional-
there have been a lot of fictional boy bands, even in live action. And like,
Yeah.
so it's so interesting. And all of us here right now have a modicum interest, or at least understanding of K-pop. So
Yeah.
I think it was high time, and somebody said actually in the comments, why it took us so long to actually react to this.
Yeah, that's why today we're going to be talking about Four Town.
Yes.
Good lord! Oh my gosh! Fort Town. It's been a while. Fort Town's been a while. They also had a really good release, to be fair, but they're definitely not K-pop.
With that being said, I will turn it over to John G, our moderator. Oh,
Yes, our moderator forever. But anyway,
moderator.
so
For as long as we are alive.
yeah, for as long as we're together. Yee.
Yes.
Anyway, what we're gonna be trying to do, of course, so K-pop Demon Hunters released last June 20th, and since then it has taken the world by storm, and almost literally because it has blasted his way with all of its songs into the global charts on YouTube Music, Spotify, whatever. They're if you search it up, they are in the top 10 or 20 or at least, and sometimes depending on your region, all their songs are in the top 50. And that means something. So there's like I think 5 or 6 major songs in the movie. So the movie is a bit of a musical. It's not a pure musical because they do have normal lines. Not everything is done in song. Uh, but yeah, it is a strongly musical, coded film, and the songs there really like establish major plot points, scenes, character, beats, and so on. So how we're gonna do it tonight is we're gonna try to go throughout the whole movie, song by song, and story beat by story beat, and then as we do that, it's just gonna be a so what do you think of this kind of thing. So we're gonna have reactions, thoughts, lessons, contentions, whatever. You know, just get out of there and share what's in your heart and minds when what was in your heart and mind when this happened.
Yeah, please do type it in the comments. Let us know your thoughts.
Right, that also, yes. So, ladies and gentlemen, we will begin with the opening credits. And, as the movie starts, we're introduced to our character plot mechanic, which is that they're singers. So they're demon hunters, demon fighting badasses. They are also, however, all musicians. So, which I've heard or read somewhere, have a strong cultural backing to it. None of us are experts here. I just saw that in an article, and it's an interesting thing to note. So we start with that. They are a triad, at least in the movie. They're a triad of shamaness songstresses who are defending not just Korea but the world from the great demon Guima. Yes,
Green.
yes.
Pima.
Our first major song of the evening into the modern day Huntrix band is
No, it's
Take
what is
Down.
No.
Oh, no, sorry, not
How
Take
it's
Down.
done.
How
How
it's done.
what's
How it's done.
done?
My bad, my bad. But they did take down the demons. So, forgive me for making the people. So the first major song is How It's Done, and they're showing us how it's done. Like this is what they do. They fight the demon dudes.
Yeah.
They sing, they perform, they crash on stage, and they're like, "This is our life."
Mhm.
All right. Uh, at that
How it's
point, ano, it's my panel of colleagues here. How did that intro hit you?
done. You wanna go first?
I was like, I don't know if this is the appropriate place to bring this up, but then this is what I did think during that time. I was like, one of my initial reactions, I guess, after this is actually pretty cool. Sounds pretty good. Was the no, technically I don't know if that this was in this particular song because I think it
Yep.
was right after the song where the like was
Right.
Guima introduced during the song or afterwards? The conversation with the Saja boys. I can't remember if it was
It was
during or after.
it was right after, but it's okay. Like as long as it happens
Yeah.
adjacent to the scene, it's fine.
I did wonder because we before this I think we were also introduced to like there was like a brief flashback about the previous Huntrixes also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the pattern is they're all female.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
And
then the
there are
Saga
three of
Boys I
them.
introduced are they're all male. And I
Yes.
was
Yep.
just like, is there a gender context to this film? And why is it that there's a delineation between women being good and men being evil?
Oh yeah.
It was
That's
just
the
very
thing,
like
right?
it's not mixed. It's like it's
Yeah,
like
it was
all
never
girls, all
there
boys.
was never a trio that were boys, right?
Mhm.
That's
Oh no.
true.
Never.
But
And
I
I
think
and
think
they
part.
started with girls then, yung pinakaunang hunters.
but I think
Uh,
this comes from actually a Korean culture thing, because if you look at Korean culture, if you ever watch K drama, that a lot of times when they bring in like shamanists, they're the shamanists in Korean culture are almost always female. It's rare that they're male. So I think that's maybe coming from that. So
Mm.
correct me if I'm wrong.
And
That's my observation uh
mm,
from like K dramas. That usually if they involve a uh, shaman, it's a female shaman. It's never a male shaman.
like a priestess. But
Yeah.
like I
yeah.
think na
I
ano
mean,
na
there are obviously male priests, but specifically like the spiritual shamaness is always a shaman. It's always female.
mhm.
So I think I did mention really briefly earlier that this particular type of shamaness has a name. I don't recall what it is right now. I guess we could pull it up, but basically they are a songstress type of shamaness, and it's kind of like not it's not too different from in Filipino culture. We have the
Babaylan.
yung
Filipina. Oh.
babaylan.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there you go.
babaylan.
Who are specifically women, right? There's no such thing as a male babaylan. So that's an interesting point. So I figure like it's something similar. Like there's a certain religious figure, part of their society. So ganun.
It's so interesting to hear that because you're saying because I think is that an Asian culture thing? Because in these situations you're painting like the like spiritual healer woman figure, right? So it's kind of positive. Well, in a
Yeah.
lot of Western cultures, like this kind of like magical woman would be considered a witch, which
A
is very
witch.
highly negative, right? So I'm like
Yes.
wondering if this is just like a clear showing of, I guess, yeah, the cultural differences between the East and the West.
Well, that might be a
No, and
dive
there's
that's a little too deep for tonight's thing,
Yeah.
yeah.
but we
Oh,
will
wait.
bookmark that
Actually.
and take note of that.
Wait, sorry. I was gonna say like because during the time I thought in my head what I thought was this is very interesting because there has been a like a big wave of like how do you put like strong women
Right.
in movies, right? And
Yeah.
it has kind of gotten to the point. I think we talked about this before when we were talking about Snow White, where it's gotten a little bit like it's being shoved down our throats. And
Mhm.
so it felt like in this movie it was like it was kind of done, but it was done in a way that didn't feel preachy about it.
Yeah. I mean, they
Mhm.
just no, but because yeah. So thinking about that, I guess it's just from the start. The premise is just like, hey, they're singers, and I think for us, we think of women as like, okay, women being uh performative, who can perform, who have a spiritual side. It's something that is not foreign to us.
Tsaka hindi makakabirit yung guys ng gano'n kasi sa Golden. Charot. 'Di ba ang taas niya eh.
My gosh, that goes.
It's super rare to find anything like that. Yes.
Yeah, so how it's done, ako I
Jimin,
thought,
Jimin, birit mo.
yeah. Ay, tsaka sa ano, BSB,
Si ano,
My
Stan,
Birit
Stel,
boys
Stan,
kaya ni
din.
Stel yun.
yeah, si
Stan.
Stan, si
Kaya ni
Stan.
Stel
There,
yun.
there
To be
are
fair.
Birit boys,
Yeah.
just to be fair. But that said, it is harder to find Birit boys than girls. So
Ayun, but I thought na ano, na, yung paglatag ng, premise of the shaman
Mhm.
the storyline was really patched up, and I think na the generations of trios, and then coming with the song na how it's done, it's really how the trio or the hunters do it every time there's a new generation of hunters. So how it's
Yeah.
done, they now in this modern world, parang they are now allowing the people to see exactly how they will do taking down the demons in this modern era.
Mm.
So and seeing na ayun, the K-pop sensation really is ano nung lumabas siya actually in real life, it really took the world
By
in
storm.
storm. Yeah, because yung training nila sobrang pulido, yung dance move choreography, yung harmonization ng songs nila. It really charms the people, so to speak. Na you have a BTS army, 'di ba? So yung fans talaga yung ano nila, yung kumbaga nagpa-power or nag-empower sa kanila to really do what they're doing. So this is how it's done.
Mm.
So that's for
That's
me.
great. Okay.
Yeah, and ano parang it sets the tone to what we are to expect in the show. Na it's really going to be a battle between good. You have women who are trying to protect the world against the humans. So parang it's a generation after generation thing, and it's like it really sets the tone, so to speak. Parang alam mo talaga na parang okay, these are the good guys. They're battling against these demons. How they're doing it, no? And parang
Mhm.
every generation over the years have had to do this. So now we are being brought up to now. So it allows us to see the characters. Actually, that's what I liked about it, is we get introduced to our present day trio of characters without having to go too deep on their backstory, because napakita na siya sa ito sila yung bagong set of characters. We can explore their backstory later, or we can explore who they are later, but at least now we know na ito sila. Alam mo na kagad yung maganda yung pag-present ng characters, and
Yeah.
um you
I
I
super
know
agree.
parang in a sense you know that this is the where we're headed. Of course, without actually hinting na may plot twist or whatever, 'di ba?
Mhm.
Oo. I do like the fact that they just showed the ano, all the characters. Or rather that they showed the different generations. That was fun.
Yeah. Yeah, and
That was
yung
very fun.
era din talaga na pati yung kanilang look,
Predecessors.
yeah,
So
that was
yun.
pretty cool.
It was very cool, yeah. The predecessor era nila. So parang
Mm.
and it also establishes a background, right? Because like we quickly find out. So first song, we see the girls beat up demons. We see the demon world be like, okay, this thing, our usual fight with them isn't working. We gotta use a new way to do it. Let's
Mm-hmm.
plan.
Mm-hmm.
And then back to the girls, they're like, okay, you know what? We're gonna rest. We're gonna be taking it easy for just a little bit to recharge until we do our super grand finale, which is golden.
Yes.
And here we have some interesting bits because like we see Rumi go, hey, let's move it ahead of schedule. She's starting to pressure the group, and they're like, what? But we agreed on, taking a break. Why do we have to do it from? But they kind of just
Couch.
right.
And then I just
And
sat down and lumabas na yung goal.
yeah, they wanted to like, just take it easy, but
Mm-hmm.
she's like, nope, we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it now. And then they're like, okay, fine, 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 fine. So they, clearly the leader girl, but
Mm-hmm.
also, they're like, they're just there, I guess. So, and then we get introduced to what is supposed to be, I guess, the ultimate song of the group, which is Golden. I mean, the
Mhm.
title itself, right? But we don't get to hear them finish it because something wrong is happening.
Mhm. I think ano for me Golden was like us seeing Rumi with her walls up. Because like
Mhm.
in this song you learn about Mira's background. You learn about uh what's the other one's name? The one with the black hair.
Zoe.
Ira and si Zoe.
Zoe. Ayun, you hear about the background. And then I feel
Sorry,
like this
sorry,
song
I didn't notice I
yeah,
was muted. I was like, I
you're
kept saying
muted,
Zoe.
sir.
Zoe.
Ayun, so but then you when you listen to the song, it's more of um when Rumi was singing, it was I was queen that I'm meant to be, but it's not really her, you know, her deep seated problem actually. It's her leading the group. It's her parang wanting to it's her masking that her issues with the honmoon, with the yung pagiging golden ng
Yeah.
honmoon. So that's where we see Rumi's walls. And I guess that's why the song didn't really ano pa hindi pa siya fully out.
Develop.
Yeah, fully developed kasi nag-show na yung issue ni Rumi, which is her um yung wall niya, but really it's her and her lies about herself. So you don't really see the real Rumi in this song, but Mira and Zoe we see, but not Rumi.
Because she still has major issues which she
Yeah.
has to deal with.
Yeah.
Exactly, and I find it very symbolic that the line that she chokes on is like I'm born to be, because her the problems that she's really hiding, because it's like I'm done hiding, I'm not, now I'm shining like I'm born to be, and it's literally
I
that line that she
agree.
chokes on, because a lot of the thing that she's hiding is because of her birth, right? So
Yeah,
it very much
she
ties
sees
Her
to
health.
herself
that.
as a mistake
Yeah,
eh.
so it's very symbolic that that's what she chokes on, because that's
Yeah,
really what she is
Funny
hiding.
though.
I agree.
I think before I jump into, I want to say hi to Kyle. Hi Kyle. Hi to Ian. Kuya Ian says, I felt couch, couch, couch in my soul. So yeah, I think
That's true.
I think I'm actually gonna jump into a biblical perspective here with regard to Rumi's uh song the first time they tried to sing. And this to me comes from the idea that she's trying, there's a laid out plan, diba? Parang may
Yeah.
plan na silang nilay out, mayroon na silang strategy. This is their parang term for that, yung parang ano nila,
This is their game plan.
the parang their finale. So, if there's a that in performing arts. But anyway, it's their parang ano pa finale. But Rumi
Yes, the
is
resistance. What is
but
it?
Rumi is in Rumi is in a mind
Magnum
state of
opus.
mind that I have to take
Magnum opus, yeah.
magnum opus, yeah. Parang the state of mind that this is they have to hurry it up, take control, etc. And I think this is very reflective of a lot of people. There's a laid out plan naman, pero and even in fact from a biblical perspective, God already has a plan out for us. But we were trying to take control. Because sometimes we feel like we are mas marunong pa tayo kesa dun sa plano. And
Mm.
and
So
what normally happens when people try to take control of situations that are not in their control, things fall apart. Parang because the more that something does not go according to what you want to happen, the more things apart. And so we can see that in room. Parang di ba may plano naman tayo, we'll take it one step at a time, we'll get there. Pero no, she wanted to up everything. So when the time came that she needed to, things are starting to fall apart, and because she couldn't handle the overwhelming situation, started to have sort of a mental breakdown, I would say. and this is also coming from personal perspective. Things don't go according to plan, to your plan, not the plan that was laid out, but to your plan. Parang
Mhm.
then you're ready to go into a mental breakdown, no? So parang I see it that here was trying to, I want to take hold of the situation. I want parang
Just
get
take
rid of the things
control.
that are not, parang the things that are hiding, and parang make sure na uh he doesn't have to deal with it anymore. But in the process, she actually makes it more difficult for herself. And
Mhm.
it starts to show that in her singing, and we know that in her singing, we eventually see that in her singing, it's actually a lot of it was a psychological thing. It's not that because she cannot reach notes. Yung birit niya, kaya naman niya eh. Kaya lang, the more that she's pushing it, the more she feels like pressured, the more that she is not able to reach what she wants to reach. So yung pagkanta in the singing part, the more she's pushing it, the more she's not able to. But when later on we see in the film that when she's able to let go, she is let go of control, she's actually able to reach it without pressure.
Mm. But we'll see that later on. Lol.
Yes,
Yeah.
later on.
So reading from the comments, Kuya Ian said that Rumi felt desperate because she's showing her demon heritage. She wants to cut it off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. Yung mangyayari dyan is it's okay. So we have her trying to rush things because she knows that this is the one way that I can get rid of all of
Yeah.
the problems and darkness that I've had to live
Inside
with
of
all
her.
my life, blah blah blah.
Mhm.
Okay, okay. So,
I think a lot of people can also relate, say that there are parts of themselves that they're not happy
at
with
peace with.
or at
Yeah.
peace with, and that they want to just get rid of it. And I
Ah,
think yung desperation ni Ru,
it's a good point.
a lot of people, especially in the younger millennials, Gen Z, and even Gen Alpha nations, experience this. This it's something and I think it's brought about also by social media and being connected on, na perceive nila that other people are better than them.
Yeah, we have a very perception oriented society given the current how do you call it? Current day and age which we live in. So that can happen too, yeah. Hmm. So but I like that point na you said na um Rumi is rushing the plan because finally she sees a way to cover the big bad thing that she's always been told is a problem,
Yes.
right?
Mm. Yes.
Or is a problem, it's a thing that she needs to get rid of, blah blah blah. And it's like, okay, this is the way to deal with it. This is the answer. So, and
Because
unfortunately,
she was parented by an Asian na naman.
okay,
Diba? Hide it. All your fears, all your flaws, hide it. Don't let anybody see.
Honestly,
well,
I know
very
someone is like that, no? And all their lives they were told hide it. Tapos ang
very
response nung
Elsa.
nakatakas na parang, oh, now I'm just going to do whatever I want to do because parang under that idea of hiding it.
You say that, pero hindi naman Asian si Elsa.
Well, it is very Elsa coded. It's very Elsa coded.
Brain and
So
all.
Oh, totoo naman.
apparently,
Ano,
it's not limited to Asians.
Yes.
but I
Pero
think
that's yeah. Go ahead.
no,
Yes.
I think it's just really the it's the culture of shame. Eh. It's shameful. You should hide it. Shameful. You
Yes.
shouldn't talk about. I think that's
Mhm.
yun yung nanaig. Rather than process it, rather than
Uh,
pinoses siya, tinago siya. Pwede yan,
Mhm.
sumabog.
True.
well, to be fair, how do you put it? her problem was fairly serious. I mean, she did have demon heritage.
Mhm.
So I mean, and that is in their world is a very real and serious problem, right? I mean, 'di ba? Hindi ba? Hindi ba? I don't know. I mean, you're from the you're from you're from the race that's trying to suck the souls out of all of humanity and turn them into basically batteries.
Yeah, but I mean, like, she was put in a very tight spot
She
because.
was. She was. And
Uh-huh.
then through no choice, no fault of her own, sometimes that's just how things are. And
To mention, I didn't have support system in this
Mhm.
regard.
yes.
In that specific part of her life, her only support system was Celine,
Celine.
and
Yeah,
Uh,
Celine
and
was
and
not giving her
sinupress
good
pa ni
advice.
Celine.
so Celine was also coping in a okay. So I don't know how we're gonna when is the right time to deep dive into Celine. I've been seeing a lot of posts and content shared online, kind of semi low key bashing Celine and like oh toxic parenting. So
Before
Mhm.
before I move to Celine, can we go back to the idea? Because
yeah,
the thing is, I wanted to react on the idea of like the demon and the demon heritage being dangerous.
okay, go for it.
Mhm.
Because to me that can also have very biblical connotations because there in the world like it's like you can look at being a demon as like as being a sinner, you know,
Yeah.
like
Uh-huh.
technically we're all tainted in a way because of the original sin, and so that the
Yeah.
blood we're sinners, we're born sinners into the world. But
Right.
then at the same time it's like can we really but the thing is a lot of what makes demons dangerous technically like well it's revealed later on pa kasi in the story, right, that
Right.
technically demons become demons of their own doing. The thing
Yeah.
is Rumi
Yeah.
was not a demon of her own doing, right? She
Right.
inherited that from her parents, and in a lot of ways there are people who in the world become judged by the mistakes of
Yeah.
their parents, right?
Mm,
And it's just to me that her own judgment of herself felt similarly to that, where sometimes you feel guilty for things that your parents have done and the world judges you for things that are not of your own doing, and is that something that we really should be ashamed of? That's
Oh,
my
mm,
thought.
and speaking from that perspective, you can learn from the Bible. I remember
Mhm.
Jesus saying, uh, rather the disciples of Jesus asked him about this blind man and blind or was disabled. I can't remember, but either way, was told was asked, what sin did this man commit? Asking him what sin, and in fact, he did not commit any sin because the automatic assumption he was born this way because either he sinned or his parents sinned. There is that connotation.
mm.
Your own burden of sin or someone else.
Yeah.
That's why
That that
you're
con yeah.
and
So just to insert that concept is you can find that in a lot of religions like
yes,
Buddhism, etc. Yung karma concept na in a past life it's because of something wrong you did, that's why you're doing this for atonement and so on.
yes,
So
and so
back to
parang in that regard, that's why a lot of people talk about issues because they have this and somebody's dancing soda pop. So no, because there's that again. We go back to that culture of guilt, the shame that seems to be, and I think yun yung parang hindi of the Celine's case. And I don't blame Celine per se. I know that some people are low key bashing and talking about how toxic, but we also have to understand that Celine was a product of her own period, her own era, her own generation. Second, she wanted to did parang did her best. She clearly loved the way that it was portrayed in the just didn't know what was the best way to do. And
I have two words:
yes.
generational trauma.
Yeah.
well, yes. It is. It
But
is.
my
But
point
also
is
I mean,
parang it's
yeah,
Eh,
before we dive into that, go on,
she,
Dom.
she wasn't just, oh, she wasn't just Asian toxic parent for nothing. Parang hindi naman as if she really did care, man. It's just that she didn't know how to deal with it, and she dealt it in the way that she thought was the best for her
Mm.
generation or for her time, diba? And
And
it
to
is,
be fair to Celine, she could have just left Rumi to her dark side. Eh.
yeah,
But
and could,
instead, she groomed her to be the huntress that she is, to fight the demons talaga whom
yeah, she
they're
could have,
fighting against.
and she could have been, she could have been, no, Celine could have just left her, killed her, or whatever. She was part demon, diba? But hindi eh. He had compassion pa din eh. It's just that, maybe misguided, yeah, but not, I wouldn't say completely toxic.
Mm.
I think some of
I would say it was well intentioned, but the fact that it led to a difficult outcome uh for Rumi is unfortunate. So it's one of those things na unprecedented kasi yung nangyari. I mean, if you really think about it, unprecedented yung nangyari kay Rumi. Like, when has there ever been a half demon, half hunter? Wala, di ba? So parang, she was also figuring it out, like, without any assistance as well. So she herself didn't have a guide on what to do. So that's just me thinking as like a parent, because like parents oftentimes will be like, how do you parent, right? So nowadays it's easier because we have so many guides. Like there's books, there's internet and everything. So there are like resources. And although to be fair, actually kahit yung resources natin, you're comparing to the best of the best of what you can see in the world, which is sometimes not fair because you're comparing every single parent to perfect parents found across the globe. So just something to note. When you're actually in the situation, as a parent, you're not always gonna be your best.
Mm,
So that's
that's
also
true.
something to point out, you know.
and I think it was also just like the important, because sometimes it's like sometimes you're so stuck in like what you were taught and how you know things to be that you forget that it's there should always be constant reflection and assessment of certain situations that they should adapt because times are changing, like we know things now that we didn't know before, and so we need to continue to revisit to assess if things are right and not just continue to do things as we know them.
Mm.
So, Kuya Ian says her mate didn't get to hear her sing. That's not hear
Yes,
Which, by the
because
way, Celine was,
Celine was voiced by Lea Salonga. All we heard was like
a few
a
lines.
couple of lines.
So, parang
Conceal,
nasayang
don't
sila yung
feel,
Tonga
ganun.
dun.
Well, who knows? Like since the movie is like shooting up, we might still hear from them. There's been a lot of like people who like, oh, we want to hear the what was their name again? Sunshine Girls. We want to hear the Sunshine Girls.
Sunshine
So,
Girls.
oh no, that's their name, right? Sunshine Girls. Did I get it right? The Sunshine Girls are very
Yeah, I think
90s,
so.
early 2000s coded in terms of K-pop performative stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, Handrix is very wave 4.
Oh no, isn't it Sunlight Sisters? Is that them?
Sunlight Sisters.
Sunlight, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Sunlight Sisters.
yeah, Sunlight Sisters.
Handrix is very recent
I
K-pop
have a
wave.
screenshot because I was like, do I cosplay Celine?
Yeah.
It's ano diba? Remember that even the singing voices of Handrix are from Twice. Which, by the way,
Yeah.
may cameo sila in the may
Yeah.
cameo yung pangalan nila
They have
the
a cameo
film.
twice. They're there twice over, lol, twice over. Anyway,
Nakakainis.
because of yeah, like there was that moment where okay, so
Oh, we
let's
have
get back
overtaken
into it.
one.
So they've been overtaken by in when they release Golden, the team Huntrix overtakes twice. Actually,
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
right?
The
So that's a
chart.
funny point. And then immediately after that, we are now finally introduced to our antagonists,
Saja boys.
the Saja
Saja
boys, who
boys.
are
Saja boys.
apparently hitting number one somewhere in the world recently. So yeah, the Saja boys, whose
I,
song is super
Serepa.
catchy, Soda Pop. Although before we get into this, we know that she can't get her voice right, and Zoe is like, hey, you know what? Let's take you to this doctor. He's gonna help you. And they get to the doctor. He's a quack.
yeah. No question.
He's a quack, and they first encounter the Saja Boys en route to their first performance. And then you have your on your head K drama meet cute moment.
So funny is
Yeah,
like all the
but
ano.
before that, 'di ba, before that was a Genu's backstory and his encounter with or discussion with Kima.
With Grima. Oh
Yes.
yeah, there is a bit of that. That's true. So you
How
get
the
like
Saja boys came to be.
you get a hint of that. You get a hint of that, and then like a boy band, really fine. You've
But
tried
like
everything
ngayon
else.
lang.
Yeah, because their boss Guimu basically said, Guima, sorry, basically said like you can't be serious, but he's
Mm.
desperate. So
Mm.
desperate times call for
Like,
desperate measures.
yeah, because I guess the honeymoon was pretty tight
Yes, he's like, you know
from
what? They're gonna
before.
win. Well, I have nothing else to lose,
Yeah.
so go for it.
Actually, I was looking at scene. Ano nga eh. Ang ganda kasi talaga ng pasok na. Let's let's attack them at the source of their power, the
They're
fans.
fans.
And
The fans.
I think this is where talaga.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. That's a
Um,
good one.
if we look at the big picture,
Mm-hmm.
the effect of how idolatry can corrupt this fallen world, but at the
Mm-hmm.
same time that parang actually ang ano ko niyan parang parallelism ko dyan that parang the Huntrix girls are leading people to worship. Of course, that's not the ano, but this is an but while the Sansa boys are leading people to idolatry. Kasi
Mm.
even the last song is, which we'll tap into later, your idol them.
Right.
Parang, you can see that ano, back the fans. And so we start to actually really see that all of this singing, all of this, and it's really the fans. It's the fan, where the heart of these fans are. Parang saan ba sila napupunta? And it's, in the case of the Huntrix, they're not, the heart of the fans are not going to them. They're going into building this Dahon Moon. No? And
Mm.
while the heart of the fans that na enthrall ng mga Sanja Boys, it's literally going to them. Sila yung nagsasak out ng ano. And even, in fact, if you look at the first song of Sanja Boys, if you look at the lyrics, kind of
Mm-hmm.
dark. It's a dark song, masked as a fun, exciting, uh, addicting song. But listen to the lines.
And soda pop. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Parang every sip makes me want to know more. Parang ano,
The pre-chorus is because I need you to need me. I'm
me.
empty. You feed me.
Yeah, so refreshing, right? So
Yeah.
Yeah. It is actually dark.
it's
So
actually really dark especially when you know the context of that demons,
demons.
'di ba? So kita mo na the difference between the Huntrix girl and the boy. Huntrix, hindi papunta sa kanila yung heart ng fans, papunta towards constructing the Honmoon, while Sanja Boy sa kanila pupunta ano ang power. In fact, to the point that people are completely engulfed in their idolatry that they just disappear.
right, because like there are parts and scenes na ano, 'di ba, na when they get sucked into it, they get turned straight into demon food.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Right, right, right. And that's dark.
Dark,
Mhm.
'di ba? It's really dark actually. Masked as ano, and then I think that's really the temptation of ano eh. Temptation of
That a lot.
idolatry in modern day, the temptation of
Yeah,
Yes,
seeking
there's
knowledge.
exactly, exactly. Mm.
Na
there's a lot
parang
of things in modern day that does that.
kasi if we look at idols in in the past in history, idolatry referred to other gods,
Worship of
images,
other
worship of other
gods.
gods, images. But idolatry in modern day, it reminds me of that series, The American Gods,
Hmm.
where the idols are like modern day idols are lust, money, greed, power, and in this case, having that fan fandom that's just overtakes their lives.
Mm. Yeah, parang kasi ang nangyari dyan. Well, okay, at the heart of it, lol, at the heart of it, yung idolatry of old, the reason why people in the ancient times worship those idols is because they were seeking relief, solace, or comfort, or security, whatever it is. They were seeking something quote unquote good that would satisfy a need or a want that they had, right? So in modern day times, we don't worship figures like that, but in practice, we put our heart and time in other things which functionally do the same, which incidentally includes K-pop stars. Right?
Yeah.
When actually, ano din I think it's more dangerous to have a um, non-tangible na idol as
Yeah.
compared to yung may tangible na idol. Kasi it's kind of inside you. So,
Yes.
parang the more that you follow it, the more that you internalize it, mas nakakorrupt talaga yung inside of you.
Uh-oh. Because like idols could even go into like for us, for me, it's the most obvious is like entertainment, things like that. But it can also be just things that we think are quote unquote good, like
Mhm.
friends and family. I mean, obviously
Relationships.
these are good things. Yeah, relationship, these are great things. But when you obsess over them and when you let
Mhm.
those things consume
Consume
you,
you, yes.
and when those things are not in of themselves, because these things in of themselves, they're not like eternally stable and sustaining objects of devotion, then it will at some point, just collapse and it will turn inside of itself. That's why nothing, well, I mean, this is a very Christian perspective. That's why nothing will truly satisfy except for the Lord, right?
Mhm.
Um, so yun. Uh, Going back to
I think that
um, uh
I agree. Depends. It's more subtle kasi, not as blatantly obvious. But one thing that I want to say is parang, bro, I want to just caveat that
yeah,
just because we are fans of a certain K-pop, could be fans of ice cream. Talking about the other ice cream,
yeah,
not the
the
pop group na ice cream. Um, my point is, in moderation, it's okay. Music is okay. Actually, if you look at the no,
I mean,
music is not presented as a bad medium. Eh. It's just
yeah,
that that medium
it's
can be
actually a
corrupted.
very effective medium. And I mean, even Christian worship is very effective,
Yep.
well, worship and praise in the Lord and all that.
But even
So
Christian music,
Mhm.
yes,
Exactly.
wrong wrong way, or when
And
can
it's
be
obsessive,
misused.
obsession.
Anything can be misused.
mhm. And if anything, I think it's shown very well in the movie how, say for example, we need to be careful exactly of the things that we consume, right? Because are these things that we're consuming us?
Yeah.
Yeah, like the whole idea that the demons and their song is like to consume the people that idolize them. But at the same time, even if you look at say at Huntrix's side, so yes, the songs are supposed to help heal the Hanmu and everything. But I would argue that even like when they were building Takedown, the reason it didn't feel right was that in a lot of ways the song is about destruction, right? It's not like
Yeah.
like the
Yes.
idea of it. That's why it didn't sit very well because it was in a way exemplifying that. Like there was something wrong with it that was kind of like
This
corrupting the
the
identity.
spirit the spirit behind the creation of the song and the spirit of the song itself
Mm-mm.
was not right. Diba? That's just it. She just said like there's something wrong with this song. There's something
Mhm.
wrong with it. And which is true. There was something wrong with it.
And even though Mira thought that it was justifiable because they hate demons and demons are,
Yeah.
yun naman talaga yung point eh, is to hate the demons because they're evil.
Yeah.
But I guess yung corruption nung spirit din nung song, nung artist,
Mm.
which is the Huntrix is which is why Rumi didn't feel that it was the right song to sing,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to building the Hanmoon.
I think
Right.
ano din, parang that also goes into the idea that while the music stuff is neutral, it can be ano bad. Content matters is in the
Mm.
again in
Yeah.
another example of have to be aware of the content. It's the reason why even in Christian have to be careful of the content of the music. Uh, parang titignan natin kung tama ba yung ano. And I've seen many times as someone fervent in the worship songs are used to be used and then now hindi na kasi pag titingnan mo uli yung lyrics parang this certain lyrics may not necessarily fit well congregation or with the people that are listening. Meron lang talagang problematic na not be used.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I
and for
think
Huntrix, it's about hate, it's about
exactly.
violence, even, diba?
Yeah. Whereas
Hate growing
before,
out of your veins.
pero whereas before their songs were about
Truth about,
truth
you
or like
know,
it's just
Truth,
more
empowerment, ganon,
wholesome.
yeah,
hopeful,
Yeah.
empowerment.
hopeful.
Yeah.
Uh-uh.
Which is
So
if you look at the K-pop, parang nagsiswing from something that's nice and parang has a hopeful message and then swing into wow, parang medyo dark nitong song ba? And then it swings back to
Mhm.
something else. Parang, so it's also the understanding think that we listen to. It's also
mhm.
influenced by what's the content. Tayo blatantly nakikinig into something just because it sounds cute that we I mean,
Mm.
Hotel California has a catchy song, but if you look at the lyrics, my gosh, the lyrics of that song.
Can be dark, can be dark.
Mhm. To be fair, there's nothing wrong with like who like music and don't even know what the music is saying.
uh,
Yung gusto
Yeah.
nila ng composition and like the beat and all that. And I don't know. I don't. I do you see something wrong with that?
Well, okay, so again, so it's kind and this is where we apply, grace and maturity. It's not gonna be like, oh my gosh, you're listening to bad music, you're a terrible person.
yeah,
You've
your
sinned and
son the
diba?
unbeliever, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, let's be practical. It's
Grabe
just
naman. No, no, don't be hard on Sean.
my gosh, if only we had an actual Sean in our playgroup, but we don't. Sean, if you're out there, please join us. The only Sean I know who's a geek is Sean McDowell, but chances of him watching this is very low. Anyway, so, point being, um, we have like certain, I don't know, guidelines or certain principles, which is that you got to take the basic idea is that you have to be aware and that content that you consume does affect you. It's just like food, really. It's mental, emotional, and spiritual food. The music that you listen to, the things that you read, the games that you play, the shows that you watch, the activities that you indulge in or participate in, things have an effect on your heart, on your psyche, and they can be good or they can be bad. That's just it. It's just like eating. Like if I eat healthy food, then generally speaking, I would probably have a healthy body. If I eat junk food, generally speaking, your body will kind of go junk. I mean, that's just basically it, right? And even healthy food, if you eat way too much of something, it may not be that good either. So it's also the same. Like, oh, this kind of food is healthy, but if you eat, I don't know, 10 kilos of cabbage every day, that's probably way too much, right? And it would be bad for your digestive system because it causes too much gas or something. So those are just examples. So it's knowing what to live on, um and if you have the right amount of what is good for you, then it stays good. Ooh, I guess that's the basic idea. So for you again, for our content, the things that you like to watch, the things that you enjoy, movies, shows, games, hobbies, anything, as long as as long as you're doing it in the right,
Moderation.
yeah, in moderation. And moderation can vary from person to person, right?
Mhm.
So for some people, it's like, oh, moderation for me is like an hour of gaming is nothing. For some people, an hour is too much. For some people, 5 hours or 4 hours of entertainment is not too affecting. Although at certain time points you can start debating it down, right? But the point is it affects different people differently. That's the main
Mhm.
idea.
I think one of the things that parang quickly lang talaga
Yeah.
jump onto it. I think with K-pop Demon, ano, yes, Kuya Ian, too much tofu raises your uric.
That also, right? Tofu is
And
great, but too much doesn't number on you.
so no, anyway, so look at music in of itself is well, it can be a good thing, it can be a bad thing. In fact, music comes from God. He did God.
Mhm.
It's what we as humans do with it determine whether or not bad.
Uh-huh.
That includes content. And I think that applies to all kinds of media, like whether it's television,
Mm.
radio, in our case, anime, etc.
Mm.
You don't just instantly demonize it as a bad. Learn to understand what the if it's a form of art and can actually be used for good, but there are
Mm-hmm.
people who will use it for bad. And as as not just as I think as
As
mature people
as
learn to
wise
discern,
people, people with wisdom and discernment.
na is this is this media or is this content actually being or is it being used to bad? Because again, anything can be used for bad, even if it has even if it's the best media ever or best whatever
Yeah.
platform, it can still be used.
Yeah, kasi even like just being honest, even the best organized groups, for example, um church and AD groups, right? Small groups. These things can easily be used for bad things if the people running them and executing them turn them for selfish gain. That's why you have
Ginawang
cult churches, that's why you have
ginawang
all these
ginawang
scammers.
MLM joke.
Oh, 'di ba? Yung mga
I
I
like
mean
how
that's
that's also what I thought.
like yeah, you have like tele-evangelists who are doing things in such a I mean that's a whole topic, but the main idea is there is that anything can be turned to evil, which is basically what the devil slash demons do, right?
Yep.
Again, pivoting it back to KDH, Demon Hunters. That's basically what they do, right? They
Yes, and
turn the music, which is empowering sila the Honmoon, and
mm,
instead redirect all of that love and faith energy and whatever into their soul food, aka their soda pop.
yes, and as we
Yeah.
know, devils or demons are deceptive, right? So
Yes.
it yun nga yung masking the song, the dark lyrics with poppy
Mm-hmm.
music.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have Ginu who wants to expose yung shame ni Ruby by telling his own story, but hindi niya sinabi yung the whole of it, yung story niya. So Rumi
Yeah.
believed that somewhere in Ginu is still good because he
Yeah.
didn't really tell the whole of his story. And then we see in the movie na uh, there was something else happened, and it was the actual shame with Gino is that he was the one who betrayed his family, not really
Right.
the poverty that they were experiencing, but he himself betrayed his own family. And that's where he caught Rumi, na he can relate to her shame. And that's why we have this song na free,
In free,
na
right.
yes.
Perfect.
Yes, and you see them really being in sync with each other because Rumi thought that um, Ginu was having that issue of himself, having that shame in himself, and
Yep.
Rumi having the same shame. And then they thought that if they could heal if they can face it. They can face their fears and yung mga
They can face
flaws
their
nila.
sins,
Yeah, because
kumbaga.
they were hiding it, but if they face it, they can heal and they can be free from that shame.
Unfortunately, in Juno's case, yun nga, we do have a bit different because in Rumi's case, she was by
Mhm.
this point, she was fully aware of what her deal was. Like, okay, what
Yes.
is the thing I need to do? What is the thing that I have issues with?
Mm.
She was
Yeah,
aware with it,
But
but
Gino,
Gino, yeah, he was still hiding it.
yes,
So
he was the
yeah,
master of deception.
so yeah, he deceived even himself.
Yes, actually.
Yeah, but actually, jokes aside, like he deceived himself. He was also being pressured by yung big
Gima.
demon guy, si Guima,
Mm-hmm.
right? He's like,
Yeah.
you think you can actually be free? You
Mm-hmm.
can't. So, although he actually could have been free. So the deception was also there na yung hindi siya pwede pala, hindi siya maging free from Guima, but he could have been freed is the truth. Because this is where we find out that again, like we did mention earlier that most demons are their own making. Guima actually doesn't like here, of course, he does have power, but we find out that for the most part, people doom themselves into taking in the bait that Guima has, right?
Mm. Because
So,
Gino hears Gima's voice, and it's the
yeah,
voice of shame and guilt din talaga.
uh
Actually, if you think about it, it's very, very like much like the devil. The devil doesn't outright command or possess you to do something. In fact, a lot of times it's um temptation and manipulation. Um, and through tiny bits of corruption. In fact, I remember ano nga daw, I remember a saying from a movie, God's not dead, my God. Um, parang why does the devil not parang uh, always cause bad things to happen to certain people, and in some cases kasi parang the devil creates a prison for people where everything is good. it's a jail cell with a door open. Everything inside is good. So what he's doing is parang manipulating you into enjoying the good things in life. Parang to the point that you are being gluttonous even. Parang masyado mo siyang ini. And then before you know it, and you're inside that jail cell. The door is open, but you don't want to go out. But eventually, time will come that the jail cell closes, and then you're stuck in there.
Yep.
In a sense, ganun ang nangyari. That's, I think, in a sense, nangyari kay G. Got stuck. Na parang, he was enjoying himself, and then, he never realized the value of what he did. Parang, the value of selling his
He
soul, so to speak, the devil.
he he hid it from his self because that's the only way. I guess yung nga. The guilt would get to him if he didn't do that, right? Like if he didn't do that, wala eh. You can see that Gino kasi buried himself in all of the pleasures of life and all the fame, the glory, and everything.
Mhm.
He was also running from a guilty conscience, which is why yung free the song ni Rumi, it's like, is there actually a way for me to get redemption? You
Mhm.
know, and he he uh he faltered kasi 'di ba yung plan nila was to out the demons, the other demons. Um and yun lang, he couldn't push through with it. So that's where we go to the next part, which is the band collapses, right?
But before we go
Uh
to that,
oh, sure,
we have a good question here. So Kuya Ian
sure.
says, but was
What do we have?
Gino evil and manipulative the whole time, or was Free a moment of clarity for him?
Well, okay, so that's a personal take for that might be different for each of us. So why don't we round robin it? Ari, what do you think for that question?
Honestly, I feel like what I liked about Free was I felt like it was, I guess you could say, a moment of clarity, but then for me, it's more a moment of reflection. Like as I was mentioning earlier, it felt like a lot of what was keeping people trapped and what felt suffocating was that there's this whole idea of what is right and what is wrong that is like kind of passed down. And so you're stuck in this mentality of how things should be. And so free to me was the space where they considered what other is there a way for us to change things, to be free of these things that are weighing us down. Like so it was a kind of like it allowed space to think and whether or not they were, I guess, how honest they were being in that moment. You could like I guess it can be thrown around, it can be debated because in a
Yeah.
way there is that idea of like I feel like what is genuine is the hope, like that they are genuinely considering if this can happen or not, whether or not they truly believed it fully in that moment. I feel like for the most part, probably not in its fullest, given how the change that I guess there was a glimpse of in that moment didn't really materialize until like I don't know much later in the movie, right? So, but at that moment, at least we see that maybe there is a way to think of
Get out of
things,
it. Yeah.
yeah, outside of the current situation, outside of what is currently accepted to be right or wrong, or what is considered the norm at the moment. And actually, while we're acknowledging people in chat, I was also gonna mention if you look at I guess say hi back to the people who are chatting on our YouTube as well. Hello Sam and hello DA
Oh,
Geek.
Hello guys on
And
Hello,
they
hello.
YouTube.
and they asked magkano ba daw yung t-shirt ni Maya. So Maya, will you
Send ko yung link sa
so,
Shopee.
so the geek official the geeks from LUGN merch who
It's so
follow.
funny because you know what? I heard somebody's phone go Shopee kanina.
Yes.
So, um
7-7 ngayon, baka seal sila.
True. There's a super sale. You never
Yes.
know.
so anyway, I was actually also thinking no na parang in terms of kay um Gino is Gino is an example of many people who feel trapped by their own sin.
Yep.
No,
Oh, hi.
parang
Sabi na ni Gio, hello.
Hello, Gio. Also, happy birthday.
Yes,
so,
happy
Happy
birthday.
birthday!
happy birthday
Happy
official.
birthday.
So our resident bear's birthday is today officially.
Yes.
As of 3 p.m. Manila time because he's in Seattle.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think yun nga parang Zeno is a perfect example of how a lot of people feel trapped by their own sin. No, of course, in Geno's case, if Geno is really a demon, there's no more forgiveness. The Bible says that there's no more forgiveness. But as a person, as long as we live, there will always be a path for forgiveness. There's always a path for um atonement, no? And in the case of Gino, parang we see here Gino feeling trapped na parang I actually do want to be good. However, this
I
is my
want to turn around.
situation. I want to turn a new leaf. You are showing me that there can be a way, or parang my love for you or whatever, my connection with you can turn me good. Parang there is a way for it turning good, but I don't know how, and I'm trapped in this feeling of bottomless pit. And I think a lot of people may feel that, no? Parang, and that's
Mm.
why I think it's important that there are people like us, no, to show na through our engagement, through our bonding with them, that there is always a way out. There's always a way to choose. Parang in our case, so there's always a way to choose God over our sin. There's always a way to choose God over our difficult situations, no? Um, so parang in Gino's case, I believe that at least in that moment, na if he were human, no, if he in the real world na walang ano eh, kumbaga there is still redemption possible. All he needs to do is really trust in that. Kaya lang he's so deep in the corruption and so deep in the what do you call that, in the lies of the enemy, no, the lies of Guima, na hindi he feels like he cannot see a way path forward. And that's why I think it's so essential as as people who connect with these kinds of people na talagang to show that there is hope, especially if as Christians there is hope in Christ.
Mm. I guess okay, just so John had a really long answer also. I don't know if mine would be as long, but the basic thing is that the premise in the movie is that Gino is human, right? Um we're not gonna go into a discussion of what is a biblically accurate demon tonight. We are just gonna stick with what is presented in the show, which is that the demons, as far as the show is concerned, except maybe for Grima himself, are basically humans who have succumbed or who have just bought all into the darkness, right? Um, but in his case, he's having second thoughts. He's having he's having second thoughts about everything. Like, should I have done this? Like, and then he's feeling guilty maybe about his family, his mom, his sister, yung and all that. And see Rumi basically kind of triggers that in him, which is a very, a romantic K drama thing. Like, oh, the girl triggers the guy's better nature kind of thing. But I mean, sometimes we do need that. Sometimes we do need other people to help us realize that. Uh, how do you put it? Sometimes we do need people to help us realize that we can be better, that there is a way forward out of what we are currently in. So my take of that song is that yes, it is a legitimate hope and cry for help.
Agree.
Maybe not a cry for help, but it's a legitimate hope, definitely. So
Yeah.
that's what I think.
I agree with with Ari that it was a moment of reflection. Because for Gino, he felt really hopeless with his situation,
Yeah.
and if we backtrack, dun sa sa quack doctor, 'di ba? When he looked at Rumi, he said na we should look at it as a whole, because
Mm,
if you're focusing on one thing, you're isolating yourself.
right.
So basically, with these two, with Rumi and Ginu, they were sorry, they were isolating themselves, and really just trying to take control of their lives, and trying to take on the guilt and shame of their situation. So that's why they have this song that reflects on hope, that reflects on um, the past being the past, and
Yeah.
looking forward to you know facing their fears and really confronting their fears, so that they can be free from their situation. So it's really the hope that I guess Ginu was trying to have for himself during that reflection.
Mm-mm. And I also think that it can also be like in a way a reflection of how sometimes we find ourselves. How do you put this? Like when you feel like you can't share, sometimes you put into situations where a group of people that might be like not necessarily be bad people, right? Be good people, but you find that you how do you put this? You can't share. Or you find yourself feeling suffocated in certain company, um,
Uh-huh.
or like like they might be good people, but they make you feel bad about yourself.
Yeah.
I guess that's one way to put it, right? And then that they might not necessarily be doing something bad, but it sometimes takes a moment of reflection where you step away from that situation and you might find light, you might find God and other people that you might not expect that resonate with you in a certain way that make you come to
Mm-mm.
the realization of why you feel that way, why you feel stuck in that situation. And so that step backwards allows you the space to free yourself, to free yourself of those problems, in which you can find then the solution to whatever those things are that are heavy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Ano din eh. So, working along that angle, within the context of the movie, instead of I wouldn't say instead of trusting Ginu, because that obviously when we look at back at the whole thing, that wasn't necessarily a bad thing. However, because it did eventually lead to his redemption at the end of the movie. However, one of the positive things that might have changed how things went down is that Rumi could have worked on her bonds and her relationship with her
With the
friends,
others, yes.
with the other girls in Huntrix. So
Mm-hmm.
we actually see Mira be the one to reach out to her,
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah.
which is interesting, as opposed to Zoe, right? So because Zoe is super people pleaser, so she's always like,
He's my
oh,
spirit animal.
yeah. So a lot of, but Mira is actually the one who's like, hey, you know what? If you want to talk, I'm
Yeah.
right here. I would like to talk to you. I mean, she goes out of her. You look at Mira's energy, and it feels like she's not. You don't feel like she's the type who would do that, but she
Yes.
is,
Yes.
which is why we shouldn't judge a book by its cover, right?
He's very how coded. Hi how.
It's very how okay for people who don't know what that means. It's our friend Vincent Halson, but anyway, he's like her face is very
Ow,
serious and all that, and she's like, yeah, but actually cares, and she did do something, right? She did do something about it. And Rumi could have at any point taken that open hand, but she didn't trust in her girls
Which is why
enough.
we see that, or we hear that from the song that's coming up next, right?
Yeah, the next song.
before we move on, I wanted
Yeah,
one thing I did want to was because I don't know if you guys saw this, but there was like a sort of semi leak or something that there was supposed to be there was like sketch art of like Jinu and Rumi kissing in that
yes,
song,
right, right.
and like the people were
So,
saying they
mm,
felt robbed because like why did you not animate this? Why was this not included? So there was like that kind of like outcry, I guess. How do you feel about that? Where do you stand on that? I just want to see
Uh,
what your guys' takes are on that.
sige, kayo muna. Ikaw, Maya, what do you feel?
Honestly, I think, ay si Mayan pala, go.
Maya.
Sorry.
Runu.
Ah,
Runu. Ruji. Well,
Yeah, but anyway,
yeah,
yun.
they're
I mean, they
gusto
are
ko yung
obviously
may nag-ship sa kanila kasi ano yun, reality yun. Merong mag-ship sa
they
kanila.
all had ships, to be fair.
Yeah, because well, do you guys not have opinions on the matter, or like
I
do you
do, but
think
I
that
want to hear from Maya first.
I don't know, because he's 400 years old.
My
so,
God!
ano to, Twilight? Parang
Of all
I'm
the
17.
things.
How long have you been 17?
No, but yeah, I do ship them, but like I knew from the start na they won't they won't actually be an actual Rugino ship because as all good and evil movies end up, bad the bad side always loses. So there.
Okay. No, pero specifically yung scene na tinanggal, what do you think? Should they have kept it
Oh, because
in?
I haven't seen that.
Okay.
oh
But well, it's just like a concept
it's
art.
yeah, it's basically like you can see in that like parang they're holding hands and they're like
The
dancing or
kiss.
something. They kiss in that scene,
That's it.
like concept art siya na. Ano,
Do you think they should have kissed or no? That's it. That's the basic
I
question.
mean, I would have liked to see that, but I think na I appreciate that
They didn't.
they didn't dive deep into that very much because it's very I appreciate that it's very dun pa rin sa point ng yung plot nung movie.
Okay.
how about you, John?
I guess okay. So my thought on that naman is there I saw the article on it kasi. I saw the article on it
Oh, I didn't know there was an
and
article on it.
I mean well the posts on it. The posts on it. I saw the writing about it, what have you. And the idea is that like if they included it, what would it have meant for the plot? Like would it have solidified the ship? For me it doesn't matter because at that point there really was one already. Um I guess it could have worked for me. It could have worked with or without. I do like that it wasn't there, because maybe it's like you throw it in too early. Like they have only known each other for a short period of time. I guess you could say, oh, whirlwind romance or whatever, but I don't know. For me, it either way it works because we already have an established
Yeah, and they already have
bond
an emotional connection with each
connection.
other.
Yeah.
That for me is enough.
Yes.
How,
Oh,
how
okay.
about you, John?
JB.
I think kasi, honestly, it feels very fan service na lang. Yung idea na pag nag-kiss pa sila. If you get what I mean. I don't think it really adds anything to the plot of the story. So parang para sa akin, whether or not they kissed on the show, it's irrelevant. You get what I mean? I think parang, oh, yes, mas cute siya kung nag-kiss sila. Pero whether they kissed or not doesn't really add to the plot per se. No, because we know that they have a strong bond connection. We know that they're love interest for each other. And the way that the story goes, ganun pa rin naman. I think it would have made more sense ang kiss if, for example, the ending was different. And then they kissed at the end. That would have made, for me, ako, mas gugustuhin ko yung ganun na lang nangyari. Kung spoiler alert, kung Gino stayed alive, a kiss at the end between the two characters would make more sense. But otherwise,
Ako ayoko pa rin. Kasi I
Same,
was
same. Sorry. Can
Okay,
Ayan,
because
away. Away.
okay, bakit naman? Bakit naman?
Hindi,
Defend
kasi
your
I
why.
would like to see them like a bond more before going into that.
Well, there's that. I think ano.
At that point though, kasi okay, so let's just finish things. So we now come to the song where it's the song they
Wait.
could
Look,
never.
I didn't get to give my take.
Oh, sorry, right. Okay. Your take first, and
Go,
then
go,
we'll
go.
get into that.
Like I
Let's
said,
go. Go.
the,
Let's
re-
go.
the reason I brought that up was because I was just like my hot take is it's better without the kiss there. Right? So I agreed with Maya because I felt like I had 2 points to it actually. One is like I do prefer a slow burn. I do prefer like technically that would count as three, but I guess I could put the two into I
Mhm.
prefer like when romance and relationships are built like off of a bond, like literally getting to know each other, and
Yeah.
especially later on when you learn that Gino wasn't necessarily fully honest in that moment. It felt
Mhm.
like um the premise is both of them are technically people with a lot of walls up, right?
Mhm.
So it doesn't make sense that they would open themselves to that in that moment for me. Like in terms of
Mhm.
the story, when it's like this is just a moment of vulnerability, but in that it's also that it's a moment of vulnerability, right? So there is the question of like as you mentioned earlier, how honest are they in this moment? How much clarity is there in that moment, right?
Mhm.
Instead, it's like it's more like reflections of identification. It's nice that there is this kinship that we see between them that's like allowing them to open doors of exploration. But at the same time, it's like if they develop a relationship in this, it's kind of like similar to when you like have a rebound, I guess, where it's like you're in an explorative phase, right? So how much of this is really stable in the foundation that you're still not even stable in who you are when this is
Mhm.
happening. So
Mm.
I felt that's why I'm so strongly on. I don't think that romance should have been muddled into this moment, which is so deeply like personal to who they are and like a moment of like growth in that regard. Like it feels like it should be a kind of like we are individually growing through this thing that we have found together and not like a couple thing because I feel like that muddles things a lot. And
Can
the second
I?
point
Yeah, go on.
is also like I feel like the romance aspect adds so many layers to the story that I feel like shouldn't be mistaken for what really is like the story.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
Okay.
it's
Take
too
it.
much of a distraction in my opinion because there's
Okay.
already so much story there.
With that
Uh,
being said, I have ano, uh I disagree.
Sino yan?
Respectfully, I disagree, but yes.
No, not completely. I think I agree that in a sense na parang um we did not need the distraction of having them kiss and having them have which is why I said kanina parang it makes more sense for me kung nasa ending siya ng film at kung nabuhay si Gino. It would in that regard it made a little bit more sense, pero yung while they're forming their bonds, parang it's best that yeah, okay, there the reason I also disagree is because there's obvious romantic tension between them. There's obvious romance between them. While not blatant, it's obvious naman eh. And I think parang yung lang parang putting a kiss in it would seal the deal, so to speak. So I feel like that wasn't really necessary. Like I said, sabi ko nga parang it doesn't really add to the story per se. Parang it will just serve pa nga as a distraction. Pero at the same time, I think parang saying that romance is not part of it. I think romance is part of it because it's an obvious part of the bond that they were sharing. But I will also um agree to a certain extent na parang like Maya was saying, parang let that bond form further. Wag yung I guess it's the idea na parang ano ba yun? Just because they survive together means na they can be together. Parang ganon. Kasi I remember watching a movie before na it's called Christian Mingle about this lady who is not Christian who decides to go on a Christian dating site and pretends to be a Christian, meets this guy, and yung ending is naging Christian si girl. And I'm thank God yung ending hindi siya hindi naging they became a couple because she eventually became a Christian. Alam mo yun, parang sobrang cop out ng story kong ganon. But more because she matured herself, he matured later on na parang later on na talaga kung paano na-establish sila as a couple. So I kind of also understand that thinking, and that could also be parang something that we could explore if there was a sequel for K-pop Demon Hunters. So, because
think
I
there
am
will
of the
be.
firm belief that he's not dead.
Also,
Or it's not completely
correction.
gone.
I never said romance is not part of it. Romance Saja is a part of the band, but he's not a part of this ship. Romabi yung ship nila. just so you know.
Yeah.
If anything, I'm saying that there's enough romance implied to add spice to the story as is.
So
I'm
like no
not
need
saying
na. Yeah.
I'm not saying I wouldn't fangirl if it was there. I'm just saying I think it's better.
This
Believe
is
me, there are already fanfics for this.
ay
Actually,
wala na.
I'm
Sobrang
not
ano na.
surprised. As long as they're not as long as they're not spicy fanfics. But I'm
Shout
sure
out to
there
the
are.
romance fans out there. Alam kong meron.
I'm fairly sure that many of them are somewhat spicy. But
Z,
anyhow,
Z Highness says, "Let their love be a slow burn. Good thing it's not made by Disney." Tas DA Geek said, "Balita ko gwapo daw si Hal."
I can confirm, guwapo si Hao.
Can confirm, yeah. Agree ako, agree.
Yeah, so you were saying we moved on to
The last
as
song.
we moved on,
Sabi
the
naman
next
ni
song,
Kuya Ian din pala, sorry,
Oh,
na from a business
sure.
perspective, better they don't kiss because the audience are kept in suspense, like, will they or won't they? It keeps the audience engaged. Which is
baka
true.
nyo naman, movie 2, may sequel, di ba?
Yun nga, baka
Yeah.
movie too.
Like, if you want,
Naririnig na
wanna
natin si Miss
wanna
Leia.
see the kiss,
Hint, hint,
you gotta
nudge,
wait.
nudge. Actually,
You gotta
that
wait
storyline
until
with Celine was never resolved. Ano nangyari? Yung completely na nag-cut ties sila with Celine. Alam mo yun, walang ano.
Yeah, and how did mom die?
Yeah, yung mga, there are questions that were not answered.
That's my theory. Baka prequel yung next, hindi siya
I'm
sequel.
Oh yeah.
It can be like the Mamma Mia movie, yung tipong, so what happened? And then it's like
Ah,
a
who's the father?
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Tiguin
He's
mo
the
pala.
dad.
Charot.
Oh, that is
Joke lang.
That is dark.
Gino.
I am your father. I don't know. But
Oh no,
we'll see.
plot twist. It's Taylor Lautner.
Kainis.
Good lord. So, where were we? Right. So, at this point in the story, we are actually at the point of, they lost hope, they break apart, and your idol song comes in,
Yes.
which is a really good song, and they're
Yes.
now it's now openly revealing like what is the deal with things.
So, when it reveals they're demons talaga, no?
Yes, and then we also just see that people at this point don't care. Like even when
Yes.
the demons are right in front of them, they're just like nothing. Diba? NR.
And I think that's that this also speaks about it also speaks about desensitization to
Yeah.
to things in media. Sometimes nga sabi nga sa akin, like, for example, I think the one of the biggest debates among Christian circles before was whether it's good or not to watch this Game of Thrones because there's a lot of nudity. And I'm like, I think I remember getting into discussion where sa akin, wala siyang effect sa akin because I know it's part of the story. It doesn't arouse me. And then, sabi niya, yun yung problema. Baka, yun din yung problema. You've become desensitized because you know it's there, because you know it's happening. And so, in a sense, in the same thing, parang wala nang, because we are exposed to a lot of things that are not, what's the word I'm looking for? Na parang we're exposed to a lot of things that would normally be shocking. Hindi na natin pinapansin kasi parang normal. That's what we see every time on television or social media.
Right.
Mm.
So that is something that it's a point of evaluation. that we need to be careful with. Like, are we actually or are we not actually too desensitized to certain content? So it's not in this case. I don't think we're saying like, oh, we're desensitized. It's just more of like check if there are certain things that we are or are not desensitized to. So because it can be a real issue, depending on what content we are getting desensitized to is. That make sense?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So yun.
Totoo, totoo. But ano nga, 'di ba? Sabi nga ni Kuya Ian earlier that the lines itself of the song really blatant about idolatry.
Mhm.
Let me look for that comment. It says 'di ba nga, I'll be your idol. Talagang kita mo na. And the way that ano parang the lies spoke to not just to Rumi, 'di ba? To Mira, to Zoe. You could hear
Mm-mm.
na parang lies being spoken to. This is really
Even
the
Bobby.
'di ba? This is the work of the devil. Sobrang relate ako kay Zoe being someone who is a recovering recovering people pleaser. No, yung lies na parang no one's gonna want you, no one's gonna think of you as family, etc. etc.
Mm.
It speaks to me yung gano'n na feeling. So
Mm.
parang they're lies talaga. These are if we're not careful, we will be drawn in by those lies and parang
Right.
uh, we start to consume things that are not we're not supposed to consume because of the lies that are in our.
Mm-mm.
I think I remember when I was in depression before depression. Parang kung ano-ano nung pinapanood ko at pinapakinggan ko because I cannot deal with anything Christian at that moment. I mean, the lies have taken over.
Mm.
I agree. So I also actually yun sa voices kay Zoe din ako nag-resonate. And I was just like, "No, why are you doing this? Stop exposing me." yun, yun yung na-feel ko eh. Parang, wag kayong ganyan, please. Ayoko matawa.
Ah.
It feels
why
very
am I
vulnerable.
parang why am I being attacked? Stop
No,
exposing
especially
me.
because I feel like I Zoe in terms of like I guess energy and disposition, but in terms of like the way she thinks and her insecurities stuff, I was just like, oh no, natatamaan ako.
You're a
Yeah, because
type
we
2
all
eh. You're a
have,
type 2 like me, so you know.
yes, being needed and feeling wanted is a thing. So I don't know which one I would be. Ano ba yung attacks kay Mira? I can't quite recall.
Ano, black sheep siya.
Uh-huh.
Tapos
What
no
else?
family would she won't have any family anymore because her own family has disowned her, I guess.
Mm. So parang tinapon ka rin ng group.
Ah,
This group, yeah, like doesn't
Yeah, like kala
want
mo
your need
belong ka na
anymore.
dito, you found a family here, but still no.
yeah, I guess among the okay, so uh, what about Rumi? What was the attack on her?
It's been the attack that's been there all along,
Yeah,
right?
it's the most blatant
Oh,
one.
because of the yeah, yung
She's a
parang
mistake.
The
because of
Yeah.
your
mistake.
who
You
you
have to
are,
hide
who
who
you
you
are.
are because no one will love you.
Actually, Rumi ka nga. No, Rumi's is more like you need to excel basically in order to make up for your
Your
birth.
flaws, yung ano,
Your
parang ano.
flaws, yeah. If you basically that's why it's like she was pushing golden and all that. If you can do this much and get to that point, then all of these insecurities you have will disappear because you will
You
be
will be
worthy.
excused, you'll be
Yes,
worthy.
you'll be
Yeah, and
worthy.
the thought of you can fix yourself and you can fix the whole world, like girl, the whole world
Yun
that
nga,
should
di
be
ba?
on your shoulder, di ba?
Mhm.
Lol.
Yeah, it's
So I mean,
basically like work
this
hard
is
so you
this
are
is an
worthy.
interesting thought because like the question is who do you think each of us are? So the both of you have outed yourselves as you guys are
Zoe.
Zoe. Who do you think me and Maya are?
Do I let them answer?
Yeah, let's let them give it a
Okay.
crack. I want to see what they say.
Sige, sige.
Si
Curious ako eh.
John is kind of closer to
Yes.
I would say if it's
I
among
would,
the
yes.
girls, I think you're more roomy. Though I
Okay.
have the
yeah. You're not a people pleaser, but you have the tendency parang I need to do this, I need to do that in order. I have to be excellent at work. I have to ano para ma-accept ako. Meron kang ganun na tendency.
Yeah,
Okay.
fix it, Felix.
Fix it, Felix. Lol, that's interesting, but yes.
Maya. Honestly,
You can't read me.
no, because
I see.
Or is she a Mira?
it's not a Mira.
But I mean,
Nah.
among the three, because like we have to. It's more of
Yeah,
like, oh,
but
sige,
I don't think
which
she's a
of
Mira.
the- Ah,
For me,
ano?
I'm a bit of both Zoe
Zoe
and
and
Rumi.
Rumi. Yeah,
Rumi.
that's what I was going.
You did it. That's where I was going to.
Okay. So bakit kaya? If you can explain.
He has to explain.
Sige.
Well, yeah, I would. I admit that I'm a recovering ano din people people pleaser.
Hi, my name
People
is
pleaser. And that kumbaga stems into dahil hindi ko ma-please yung mga tao, I need to fix things.
Yes, and you need to perform
Yeah.
para makita
Yes.
nilang ano ka. You're
Yes.
worthy enough.
I'm so sorry.
I so relate because I also relate a bit to Rumi, but more so with Zoe kasi. So I get where you're coming from. So parang I'm not worthy enough, so I need to fix things. I need to to be excellent at this so that people will love me.
Yes.
If anything, may parang off the cabinet akong like mapupull na for John. But before that, I was gonna say sabi ni Sumi shot na JK wala pa Friday. and then,
Grabe.
and then DA Geek said K-pop Demon Hunters The Search from Gino, K-pop Demon Hunters 2 The Search for Gino, K-pop Demon Hunters 3 The Last Song, and K-pop Demon Hunters 4 The
My
Fall
God.
Upon Moon.
But you know what? They could do
Predictions?
they can make a full cinematic universe from
Because
this.
they can have K-pop Demon Hunters the prequel.
Na, akala ko sasabihin nyo, J-pop Demon Hunters.
I wouldn't mind that.
Pwede,
I
pwede.
wouldn't mind that.
Yeah.
Tapos yung mga ano mo, yung mga
International.
yung in this case naman mga lalaki naman tapos puro like sina ano Takeru Sato
Oh my God.
or
That's
si ano
hilarious.
yung mga J-pop idols Matsumoto Jun ganon.
Yeah, what's the yeah. My other poll, because I was like, if we're not limiting ourselves to Huntrix, I can see John as a Bobby.
Si
Oh
Bobby.
wow, as a Bobby.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, because
The
I feel like
manager.
yeah, and I feel like John does fulfill the role kind of a manager. And also
Ah,
yeah, like
Like if you can't keep people together, it's your failure.
wow.
that. I feel like
Okay.
the pressure
Okay,
you put
okay,
on yourself
I get
is
that. I
hard.
get that.
Yeah,
I
a
get
community
that.
thing.
To be fair, yun yung lie sa kanya, di ba?
Boom.
Like yung the concern is like for like not necessarily taking the spotlight for yourself necessarily, but it's like
Yeah.
checking in on people, making sure everyone is okay, like if this is happening, why is
Yes.
it happening, and trying to figure out like the dynamics between people, which I feel like you do a lot.
Okay. That's legit. I can relate.
So he's a Bobby.
You have discovered
Justice for
me.
Bobby.
I mean, Bobby's cool. I like Bobby.
I like Bobby.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people making headcanons for him that he's a former K-pop pala
Parang si ano,
turn
si
manager.
to, um there is one K-pop group in real life that has a chubby guy, and it's Super Junior.
Oh
Oh,
yeah, it
really?
did
Oh,
have
And
a
he's actually
yeah.
the best. He's actually one of the best dancers in the group.
yeah. Okay.
Si ano ba yun, si
Well,
Shidong?
okay. Let's continue. Where were we? So we were looking at, okay, so they fractured as a group. Your idol comes out, and then Rumi makes a breakthrough because how does she make a
It's
breakthrough? Actually,
Ano,
it just escapes me right
she
now.
had to be broken and she had to
Mm-mm.
reach
Yes.
her lowest point before
Yes.
she
Mhm.
could
Yeah,
realize
Mm-mm.
na parang how she's been approaching everything was wrong.
Yeah.
Mhm.
No?
Mhm.
This
And
happens
I
because they perform Golden, and then it gets interrupted, and then it becomes Takedown. And then the demons disguised as her friends turn on her. That's when it happened. Like in
yeah.
that sequence.
But what I like the most about that part before they go into the last song, what it sounds like, is that when Rumi had to surrender or admit to herself, like Grima was actually talking to her, like,
Right.
eto
Ah,
hindi mo
yeah.
nagawa
I'm
to.
beginning
Mm-hmm.
whispers.
And
Exactly.
she
Yeah.
was agreeing. She was actually agreeing with Grima that everything he says is true. So that to me is like it's very brave of her to admit it to herself and to surrender yung the issues that she had with herself, and that's how she breaks free from her issue, from her situation, that she's a mistake, that she can't fix everything by herself, and that, and then comes the song na uh my lies all collided, and why didn't I trust these girls to be on my side, and
Right.
actually accepting that she's broken, and that that brokenness can actually be a weapon for them to face the darkness in them, in and of themselves.
Mm,
I think galingan ng kasi
good point.
parang I was thinking, 'di ba, she was broken, she hit her lowest point, and
Yes.
then when she went to confront si Celine, I think that point where she says the line na parang she's done, parang hiding and not accepting herself. And then she says na parang if this is what the honeymoon is all about, I don't want it to be remade. I will create a new one. Kasi
Mm-hmm.
parang para sa kanya the honeymoon is not supposed to be something about, 'di ba? It's supposed the honeymoon in symbolism wise was more about parang being true to yourself, being about parang being able
Yeah,
to or
the honeymoon that was created before them was, yun nga yung china-chant nila na laging sinasabi ni Celine na hide the fears, hide the flaws and insecurities. Whereas Rumi wanted to make a new honeymoon which is based on truth, based on who they really are.
Mm.
yes. So parang in this case parang tama na yung about hiding oneself, hiding being afraid, no? Kasi yun yung basis ng honeymoon dito parang fear eh. Rather than it
Mhm.
being based on fear, it should be based on hope and being based on the truth.
Yes.
Oh. After one
Oh,
cute dog, one cute cat, one cute dog.
Sleepy.
That's just going.
eating. Okay. So, where were we?
We're almost done.
Yeah, cause like okay, so we're recapping. So at that point, ano na, 'di ba? Parang uh how to put it?
We reached the last two songs.
Yes. So the last songs are
Your idol.
mm-hmm, your
And
idol. So
And what it sounds like.
what it
and what it
sounds like.
sounds like.
I think for the
So
interest
we
of time, let's combine na lang the two songs, yung natin.
yeah. I actually was gonna plan to skip your idol because it's very obvious at this point what it's about. I don't think we need to dig deep into that. This is just their big reveal, but we've already known that.
And we've talked
So,
about idols already, actually.
Yeah.
yes, exactly. So the topic is pretty much we've already like preempted it. So let's go straight into how do you put it?
What it sounds like.
This is what it sounds like. So how does that feel for you? This is how it sounds like. Look.
Let's start with Maya kasi si Maya pulled up the lyrics recently
Yes.
morning. So parang I want to hear her
Yeah.
thoughts about it.
Basically, the song is about, yun nga, admitting to themselves na they are broken, and um, that they're done with the lies, and
Mhm.
they're coming out with the truth of themselves. And I also want to point out na this song is also um uh pertains to you not being alone with whatever your situation is, whatever you're going through. You're not alone. And I like that they were also very honest with themselves, that they were cowards, they were
Mhm.
liars. They're not the
Yep. No.
heroes here, but they're survivors. And
Okay.
they're the dreamers, the fighters, and they're tired of lying about it. And for siguro for some people, they are very, may mga savior, messiah complex. And 'di ba? And it really, when you put up that that facade, that personality, uh it can tire you out. It can ruin you. Whereas if you admit to yourself that you're not a hero, you're not all these things, you just you just uh come to come to terms with who you really are. Yes, you're a sinner. Yes, you're a liar. Yes, you're a coward. But God, 'di ba? But God is right behind you. But God has got your back, and
Yes.
God is also with the people that you're with, whom you feel you're safe with. So you're not alone in this fight, and you can actually trust people.
Nice.
Somebody
Nice.
entered the
Nice.
wrong
Yes.
room.
Yes.
So tonight we were supposed to have a fifth member who briefly showed up, but okay.
Who was that?
It was
it was
Vince.
it
Who's
was it
Vince?
was how, yeah.
We know
Okay.
his music,
We know.
his
Actually, I was
official
looking at
soundtrack.
Discord, so I saw him come in.
His official soundtrack was there.
Yes. Actually,
He couldn't join us because he watched a certain movie premiere without me.
Which, to be fair, we will be hearing from him on that soon.
Yes.
For our next podcast. So we'll share that later on.
I was
Go
gonna
on,
say,
man.
I was
Ah,
gonna say that I agreed with Maya in that. Actually, that's also what I felt when I heard the song. It felt to me like it was the like voice of God echoing through uh Rumi as a medium, where it was like basically telling everyone there that they had their own like demons inside of them, right? The voices in their head that led them to that moment. But
Yes.
at the same, and the reason why those voices are so effective is the voices were there inside their head, right? They were like keeping it to themselves. They were letting it fester, letting it grow, and basically it's all this darkness that we have in us. And the song basically tells us that we should like, we are not alone, right? There's, what was the line here? Like
Um,
shout it out, we are not, you are not alone. Like I
yeah.
know there's a line that is that. Yeah. We're shattering the silence, we're rising defiant, shouting in the quiet, we are not. Because we listen to the demons, we let them get between us. But none of us are out here on our own. It's basically that, right? Like it's easier to listen to those voices when they're the only things that we hear. And that's why there really is a certain strength we get from community, why humans are social beings. Because like they help us bring that darkness that we have inside us into the light, right? So that we can inspect it, we can reflect on it, and therefore have avenues to see like which, I guess, are the jagged pieces that are going to hurt us, and which pieces of us um we should, I guess, what's that term, like, appreciate. But because basically the idea is that, in order to really bring like acceptance of ourselves, right, and
Mhm.
and that growth, and to be like our truest selves, and the who uh who God means for us to be. We can't
Mhm.
see that
Yep.
if we're always just hiding, right? So we
Mhm.
We
really
can't.
need
Yeah.
to
We
inspect
can't
and reflect.
be. Sorry, Sige. You finish first, and then I got something to add to that.
Okay, yeah. Well, I was basically saying we can't really truly reflect on ourselves and know ourselves if we're hiding ourselves, right? So it's
Mhm.
really that, like, bring yourself to the light, be honest, be true, whether that's just what the things you do, the things you say, uh, and then then we can be able to grow and truly get that acceptance that helps us become who we are truly meant to
Mhm.
be.
Sorry,
John?
kanina pa kasi. Right. Okay, so
I'll jump in
uh
once John's.
yeah, so what I was trying to point out is that it starts with truth, right? So
Exactly.
yeah, but God is truth, and the true version of us, we can't get there if we can't accept who we are, sins, as I said, jagged edges, so that means sins and all. So parang it starts from there. So yung sins natin, so to speak, all of our um dark sides, these are things we have to accept first. All of our flaws, all of our uh quote unquote defects. I know like people nowadays they don't like to say like, oh, you got like this thing, or um you can't say these things, right? But the reality is that we are flawed and sinful
Individuals.
beings. Diba? We are not perfect people by far, and we have to accept that about ourselves. But we don't just stop there, because there's some people who be like, this is who I am, take it or leave it. Mali din yun. Kasi the things that are wrong about your, I mean, there's some uh of course this is a big topic, but there are things that are right and wrong about us. Like if you're a jerk, you're a jerk, right? For example. So there's something wrong about that. It's like, hey, if if you're always disrespecting people, there's something wrong about that. So I'm not gonna get super deep into it. But the point is, you gotta accept that there is something wrong, and it's okay to know that there's something wrong about us, because all of us are not perfect, and there's always something for us to work on. It may be just innate basic selfishness, which is a common thing. It may be traumas, generational, passed down through our families and or through our culture or whatever it is. It might be things you just picked up and learned incorrectly from philosophies in, I don't know, life, in school, and experiences. But it all comes down to like, we have to, all of these jagged bits of us, like the song likes to put out, we have to clearly see it, accept it, and then we have to learn to heal from it. And it is most effective not when you're alone, but when you can be honest and truthful in a community. So in this case, see, Rumi needed to be this way with her girls. And her girls also realized that they needed to be this way to each other, which is why they couldn't write this song previously, because their relationship and the depth of their relationship with each other was not open enough, was not strong enough, was not deep enough until they came to that point where they admitted, and then, they had all of these things come out, and they were willing to say, "Hey, we're willing to work on it, to support each other, and to see us through to become better people afterwards." There is healing, there was redemption, and that's why they had a song that was even uh more beautiful than, well, Takedown or whatever, right?
Or golden. Kasi
Or
if
Golden.
you if you look at it, golden is almost like what it sounds like. It's about
Yeah,
uh
there are similar patterns. Yes.
lines, yeah, patterns. But then I think that uh what it sounds like was more genuine than golden. Golden is more of on the surface, like introing who they are, where they came from.
What they're
But what it
aspiring,
sounds sorry.
what they're aspiring to.
Yeah, but what it sounds like is really who they are deep inside.
Mm.
I think ano din, I just want to touch base lines din from this talks about, diba, broken into a million pieces, about
Mm.
uh, seeing the beauty in the broken glass, and it reminds me of the
Mm.
Japanese art of kintsurugi. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. Basically, kintsurugi is the art where when your ceramic or your like mga vases, plates, or whatnot, they get destroyed. You glue them back on, but you glue them with gold,
Mm-hmm.
signifying that
Gold.
the broken pieces, parang the scars of the broken pieces, parang make it actually more valuable. No?
Mm-hmm.
So, and maganda siya tignan actually, if you think.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea
Ako
that,
naman yung yung stained glass.
ay,
But
ang ganda nun.
Yeah, that's also nice.
yeah, sorry, I interrupted. Go ahead.
But yeah, yeah,
So,
that.
yun na yun. I mean, ano na talaga, parang the idea na talagang may value.
Mm-hmm.
Your scars and your ano actually have value if you let them, let people show it. It makes who you are. Eh. It's not something to be ashamed of. It's something that ano, as long as you learn from your scars, you learn from your um the things that went wrong in your life, you will grow eh. 'Di ba?
Mm-hmm.
Na parang, and um in a sense also, parang God does not want perfect people. Hindi naman siya naghahanap ng perfect people eh. In fact, a lot of the people that are considered ano, famous heroes in the Bible are very very imperfect. They
Mm-hmm.
all have sins to show. They have shame that, but they overcame that because they trusted God. No, they trusted the higher being, and ano, and the song shows talaga na parang it's letting go of your past, your shame, your guilt, and embracing who you are, embracing your scars, embracing ano nga, let the jagged edges meet the light instead, 'di ba?
Mm-hmm.
Lines ng song. And it's a song that shows vulnerability. And I think ano, um the world will tell you that vulnerability is a liability, but vulnerability actually can be turned into strength.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the
So
strength.
for
Yeah,
sorry, this is the strength that
'di ba?
Okay.
yeah, for
So,
me the stained glass yun talaga yung umiikot sa isipan ko while listening to this song because 'di ba the point of kumbaga one point of this of this movie is that we are sinful, we are sinners, and
Right.
if we accept that we are broken people, we are sinners, uh we have these million broken pieces, and yung line na why did we cover up the color stuck inside our head. So parang you have these broken pieces and they are colored pieces of you. Siguro sin siya, or maybe your personality, or uh, things about you that you keep hiding. But the Lord doesn't want you to hide these things. If anything, she wants you to expose it in the light so that when he fixes you, all your broken pieces, um makikita natin that we can actually be colorful people, stained glass. When
Ganda.
the Lord when the Lord puts us together and he makes this wonderful masterpiece of stained glasses, and the light meets, the jagged edges. It's actually a beautiful picture of what God can create
Amen.
in us, and he turns that mess into a message, as we've always been told, 'di ba, na we may be a mess, but in the hands of the Lord, all those broken pieces in the hands of the Lord, He can make it
Hmm.
into a message.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
Heart, heart.
Correct. 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 I like it. I like it. So how do we end this? Because we have gotten like, well, actually, this is the final thoughts, final song finale. Um, Ari, what are your thoughts on this one? John, ikaw, anong tingin mo?
Carry na.
I feel like most of what I wanted to say had like we've already technically tackled. So in basically my I guess overarching ideation of it, like if you're looking at the, I guess you could even say from start to finish, was that basically a lot of it is about like the darkness or the demons that we have inside of us. So it felt like that, like we went through, like I guess like fighting it and then introspection and all that, and
Mhm.
that what ultimately kind of brings us to our ultimate brokenness is the, like when we isolate ourselves and we allow the darkness to consume us, and so we're able to find freedom from this, or like to shatter the darkness, to shatter the silence, and escape through like community, right, and to finding the light wherever that light may be, in order to help us expose, well, not expose, but then like come to light, and then to then fully see who we are for what we are, accept, and to accept that in order to um come to our fullest potentials.
Hmm. Sige.
And I feel also to add, and that potentiality, I think, is something that is also a constant process. Like just because we reached here, I don't think technically it's designed to be the end of the story, but I don't really think it's the end of the story, right? It's
Yeah,
something that,
there's more. There's more to it.
and this is just a cycle or a process that we need to continue to do, because technically I feel like previous hunters, generations of hunters probably also went through something similar, and that they also needed to get to some place in order to, like, uh how do you put this, they also had their own struggles in order to become better at what it is that they
Mm, yeah, I would agree. It
I think
really
so.
comes. It really makes you wonder how did the what happened to the others, right?
Yeah,
But anyway,
exactly. Yeah, it's
Happened to the what?
I
what
have faith
happened to
that
the
when I
other
explore
hunters?
that. Yeah.
I do hope. Yep, agreed. I do hope that they explore that. Same.
Yeah, I feel like if anything, like I feel like there was Guima was the big bad, but I feel like we barely got to know who Guima is. Where did Guima come from? Like, there's so much to dive into there.
That's true. That's true. All right.
All right.
So,
So,
ano ba? Ikaw, John, ano bang tingin mo sa final? I feel like I've given my big thought on that song, and that's my ending, pretty much my
I think
concluding statement as well.
Same here.
sa akin lang is really more of parang we look at ano at the end of it all, it's about learning to accept who we are, learning about the shame and the sharing with
Mhm.
others, knowing that number one we can't do it alone. Number two, You have to carry the burdens together. I think number three is
Carry
really
each other's burdens. Yeah.
knowing that regardless of what we feel or who we are, God accepts us. God loves us. Yun yun para sa akin yung pinaka-message. Um, and parang, I guess in a sense, as long as we're living, there's no such thing as being too late. We can always go to God. Kaya nga, di ba, parang in the Bible, even the thief on the cross was told that today you will be with me in paradise. Meaning to say, even though on his last, and he and essentially he's not able to do anything about what's going on. No? Parang wala na siyang pwedeng gawin para to redeem himself except to just what do you call this? To submit to the Lord, diba?
Mm.
And make up for the sins that he has made, and yet God has forgiven him. So, if a thief like that can be forgiven, ano pa kaya tayo, diba? But it starts with learning to accept the things, the good and the bad, and learning to confess them, learning to be accountable to others, and letting others also help you, so that others can, help. We can carry each other towards Christ.
Mm. Okay. That does sound good.
Agreed.
Hello.
So with that, I think that's it for us for this.
Yeah.
Our one of our longest discussions.
Yeah, we enjoyed it.
We enjoy tayo, and I hope our audience enjoy. Daming tao na nag-comment on Facebook, guys. And if you're watching this and
Thank you for watching.
you're not are in need of a group, you're looking for some. Yun yung yun yung story ng K-pop Demon Hunters. You can't do it alone, diba? Level
Hello.
Up is there for you. We are a community and a safe space that you can join, and we enjoy time with each other. We play games, we watch movies, we do a lot of fun stuff, but at the same time we're here to support each other.
Yes.
Mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Wag lang financially kasi medyo mga hirap din kami lahat eh.
Mabruk.
That is a
Mga broke
challenge.
ass din kami
Although we
dito.
can educate each other financially, but that's a different thing.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So, join us on our Discord. Discord. One of my friends will probably send the link, the invite link, in the comment section, and you can also search us on Facebook. So we are on Level Up Game Nights, and we have a Facebook group, Level Up Game Nights, where we have a GC where we talk all about random stuff that's geek related.
Yes.
Yes.
So with that in mind, that said, I would and see you soon on our next topic, which is probably going to be about Superman. So bye bye.
Wow.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for
We'll be right
watching.
here by your side.
Bye.